as I and then and as always, I will share the recording with the group. So yeah, when we can start when you're ready. So I've already enabled sharing screen.
Can you see my screen, sir?
Yep.
All right. I think we can start. Am I audible?
I think your audio is breaking up.
Oh,
Okay, so we are from the first group, and our study area is in BSD Grand Boulevard Mini Hill, Lengkong Gudang, Serpong District, South Tangerang City, Banten. Maybe you can scroll down a bit, Nia, to show the area. Yes, this is our area. It has various various topographics, and our goals is to develop. Bentar nih ke atas.
Pakai bahasa Indonesia juga nggak apa-apa kok.
Our goal is to develop a public green open space with an interactive concept. And this is the photo from the Google Earth around the area. And this is the topographic from the Google Earth, I think.
Where is your site location on this hang on eh, in this map di peta ini lokasi kalian di mana? Bisa dicoret-coret nggak? Kan?
Maybe I can try to annotate.
Sure.
It's around there, sir. That's the rough site, the rough border of the site.
Okay, awesome. Great. Jadi I can see a good variety of a good difference of yeah a good difference, a good contour. There. All right, good. Carry on. Thank you very much.
Next, we have the data of site internal condition. The first data is the spatial policy from Peraturan Daerah Tangerang Selatan Nomor 15 Tahun 2011. The spatial planning policy is divided into spatial structure policy and spatial pattern policy.
Okay, so for the next will be the land use data. And most of the land use in the area is for medium density settlements. It is covered for about 38.70% of the area. And the second largest is occupied by low density settlements. And here is the proportion of each land use in the surrounding area, which is in South Tangerang City. And this one is the land use map of South Tangerang.
Okay, the next one is the identity of the study area. It is located in BSD Grand Boulevard Hill in Bumi Surpong Damai, or BSD City. BSD City is located in South Tangerang in Banten. And this is the maps from the Google Maps. Our area is the red one. Yes. And moving on to the next, scroll down, yeah. And the next one would be the infrastructure. Turun lagi nih. According to Tangerang Selatan Municipality in figures, there are electricity network, transportation network, communication network, and water management. And for the specifically in BSD City and Serpong District, these are the infrastructures to support their daily lives, namely transportation, accessibility, like the toll road, housing, civic center, education, worship places, health facilities, commercial activities, green open space, and other facilities.
And next is the green open space. And there are 7.23 hectares is a green open space, and then 0.2 is the road. So green open space takes 97.14%, and then the other land is 2.86%. And then for the type of vegetation, there are three: wild grass, angsana tree, and Spanish cherry tree. And overall, they are in a good, well maintained, and support the green open space of the site.
And the next one is for the outdoor furniture. So here I made the table of the existing outdoor furniture inventory. First, in the area, we have the lighting, which is in the form of tall light poles next to the paved walkways around the area with approximately every 40 to 45 meters. And the second outdoor furniture is the seating, which is in the form of pairs of concrete benches, and they are usually on the sidewalk of the road and approximately present in every 55 to 100 meters. And some of these pairs of concrete benches are under the shades of trees that are planted next to the road. And for the garbage collection, currently it is not available, so we don't find any trash can or garbage collecting boxes.
And this is for the total population data, unit from Tangerang Selatan dalam 2021. So the area is located in Serpong district, and it has a total population of 154,774, and it takes up about 15% of the total population of the city, which is the Selatan city. And for the table of workforce, this is a table of workforce for the people that are above the age of 15, and it is divided into two categories. The first one is the economically active workforce. The first one is the working population. There's about 700,000 people, whereas the people that are unemployed is about 70,000 people. And for the economically inactive, it is divided into school attending, and then homemaker or housewife or house husbands are the ones that only live in their houses, and then others. It is divided into 100,000 people, and the majority is working as a homemaker or a housewife or house husband for around 280,000 people. And we also have a percentage of population per capita by spending. So this is the amount of money they spend in a month, approximately. So in the Tangerang Selatan city, about 0.14% of population spend 200,000 to 299,000, and the majority of the population that lives in Tangerang Selatan city approximately spends above 1.5 million, because I think Tangerang Selatan city and the Serpong district in general is dominated by middle to high income population. And this is the percentage of monthly expenditure per capita by commodity group. So I think the one that has an increase over the last 2 years is the expenditure on goods and services by the population, and also durable goods. But the majority of spending that the Tangerang city has is on food and housing, and also household facilities. I think that's about it from the data of our presentation. So basically, we want to build a public green open space park, because I think, as one of the people that live in the city, I think the city doesn't necessarily have a major park that people can visit as a gathering space. The only park that is available around the city is Taman Kota Satu, and that is mostly used as a place for people to work out and jog and run, but it cannot necessarily be used as a gathering place for people to go on a picnic or any other recreational activities. So what we want to develop in the future is a public and open space with an interactive concept, so people can hang out and do many other activities in the area through a park, basically.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for that. Your brief brief presentation showed that you do have a sound understanding of your location. I know that I know that you're presenting to me, or you're showing me a draft of your site inventory. However, when you're in site planning, if you're only listing the things that you observe, we have street furniture, we have amenities such as schools, hospitals, office blocks, and so on and so forth. I think it would be beneficial if you can display that, if you can display all of that, all of the components or all of the elements that you have documented into a map. So preferably from now on, from now onwards, the language of the language we use to communicate is through the language of maps, and more maps. So, contour map, facilities or amenities distribution map, utilities grid map, utilities, and by utilities I mean electrical grid, maybe telecommunications if available, or drainage, and also to express or to represent connectivity and accessibility. You can also generate a road or street network map. Then you classify what class or what category do each of the streets, roads in that area fall into. For so many maps, and I believe that you this in this semester you are also taking locational analysis. This is lokasi dan keruangan, locational and spatial analysis. I believe the contents and the subject in that course will be should be very beneficial to this or complementary to this course. I don't have a problem with what you guys plan on developing in your site. If you're going to do a public square or a public park is too small. I'd say square. With 7 hectares, I would call that a square. A public square or a people square. You might need to explore a little further how the microclimate is like in that area. Sun exposure as well, because as far as I know, there are online tools that you can access and you can use to analyze the duration of sun exposure of a certain location. You just put the coordinates in, and the web-based tool will do its magic for you. Same with microclimate. I think the Bureau of Meteorology, BMKG, our local Bureau of Meteorology, they have quite a comprehensive data set on microclimate for certain areas. I think you can also just punch in the coordinates, and you'll get average annual temperature. You also get average annual rainfall, all those sorts of things. That will be very, very useful in preparing the space for public gatherings, picnics, and whatnot. I think one of the reasons why we're a bit reluctant to do picnics in the open air is because of temperature and sun exposure. So that should help you determine how much how much shading to provide, where are the best locations to, and where are the best spots to put these shades in, and so on. So use go ahead and explore and use as many of these online tools as you can, sun exposure and microclimate tools. Because I think another group once showed me, and unfortunately I didn't really know, I didn't get to note down what website they used, but they showed me a complete set of sun exposure, wind direction, average annual temperature and rainfall, and all those other climatologic, climate related data on their site. And mind you, you guys have have a site that is situated in an urban area. They picked a site that is very rural, but they have the data, but they managed to get the data. They managed to get climate data for it. So I think for an urban area, it shouldn't be much of an issue. Yeah. So the notes that some of the notes that you should, some of the things that you should take note of are maps, 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 and more maps. And those web-based tools or online tools for climate, for climate data. And a little, this is something that I picked up as groups begin to present their work, and not necessarily just for site planning, but also it bleeds over to other courses as well. When you're presenting, say, numbers and percentages, you don't have to describe the numbers precisely. So, say, for example, the level of unemployment is 23.17%. You don't need to be so specific. The screen will help you with that. The audience can see that. You can simply round up or round down the number and say almost a quarter of the residents are unemployed. So that's a lot. It's a lot more engaging that way. Almost a quarter of the population is unemployed, or say if you have a very high number, for example, 83.05% is forest area. You don't need to say an 80%. You can say most of the area is covered by is a forest area or something. So use those are just some little presentation tips that I can give you, that I picked up from the several groups that have presented their work to me, including final year students. So yeah, just don't worry too much about the details of the number. Yeah, I guess I noticed that that the next stage for you guys is to produce, or to try to analyze the site and see which areas are suitable for development and which are not. you may continue on to the next stage while refining the things that are refining the things and we have presented now, and take my comments into consideration. Yeah, that's the notes that I have at the moment. If you have anything else that you would like to clarify or would like to ask, welcome to do so.
Should we like find the precise of the building height, density, and sort of things like that to considering of making new projects such as a public park that we have mentioned?
Okay, good question. So this is actually a first for me because what I mean by first is this is actually, you guys are actually the first group that I have come across that chose a suburban or built up area. Most of the groups in site planning pick a very rural and very remote area because usually it's not as built up. So the challenges are different, of course. You mentioned building height. Yes, you should take building height into consideration because one, your area is pretty built up. It's not too densely built as far as I remember. As far as I can remember, BSD city is not too it's not overly densely built. I've only been there for a couple of days, but yes, take building height into consideration. The distance between the building spacing, the building density, the distance between the buildings, and especially around your site. So, are there any high-rise or multi-story buildings right next to your site, or is the surrounding area relatively open? If the surrounding area is relatively open and it is not built, it may be a good idea to have a look at what the plans are for the surrounding area. So I would say that that would be a very big plus, because not only are you considering the present state, or the present state of things, the present conditions, but you're also thinking forward in terms of, okay, they're going to build houses right there next to our public park. They're going to build houses there. Should we add more access points towards those areas, or should we just focus the access point? Should we just focus the main access to the main road, and so on, etc.? So yes, by all means, consider a lot of things, especially what the government or what the developers have planned for the immediate surrounding area of your site. Not only existing land uses, but also future.
Okay, I think that's really helpful. Thank you, sir.
No worries. Right. Anyone else? Thanks for the thumbs up. Anyone else? Yes, Hatta.
Yes, so I think in the initial guideline, the guideline mentioned that we need to look into the socio-cultural data, but in this draft, I only mentioned the population and then the amount of spending that the population have. So what I want to ask is, what kind of socio-cultural data do you think we need to get in terms of site planning of green open space?
Okay, great. The sociocultural data actually includes things like regulations and legal frameworks, such and such. So all of that is considered as part of the sociocultural data as a whole. But if you're talking about demographic data and how it relates to the to the public area that you are going to develop, well, let's say, for example, it will determine what sort of facilities, for one, what sort of facilities you want to put there. Let's say, for example, if a good proportion of the residents of the BSD city residents are young families. If a good proportion of them are young families, you may want to consider putting in a playground in the park. How big a playground? Well, how many families are there? How many families with young children are there? Children up to children up to their early teens would normally still be interested in running about and climbing things. So you might that determines what sort of obstacles or what sort of play area you want to develop. If the majority of the population is, if the majority of the residents belong to the geriatric category, elderly, then of course a playground is not going to make any sense. It would be better off if you gave them a more of a relaxing garden, a place for them to be able to stretch their legs, walk about with a lot of seating areas, gazebos, that sort of thing. So that's how demographic data will determine what you can put in your park. If you have data, say employment data, employment and unemployment rates, and what sort of work do these people do? Are they homemakers, or are they homemakers? Are they office workers, and so on? That sort of data will help you determine the frequency of use of these parks. If most of them are homemakers, maybe then we can assume that they have more free time in their hands, although that is not necessarily so. Most homemakers actually have less time in their hands than office workers, because household chores are 24/7. They're never ending. So for homemakers, for the different type of jobs, the different type of occupation will likely help you determine the frequency of use and when people use the park. If most of them are office workers, then it is most likely that during the weekday, throughout the weekdays, that the park is going to be empty. It's mostly going to be used during the weekends and or during public holidays. As for disposable income, that has something to do with that may have something to do with the frequency of use. People from a higher income group, maybe they may want to use they may want or they may tend to use the public parks more. However, there is a big I think there's a huge difference in the way people of different cultural backgrounds use public areas. For example, here, to the best of my knowledge, I rarely see, or I can confidently say that I have never seen birthday parties in the park. Most of the time, birthday parties are birthdays are celebrated in restaurants or in function halls. Now, function halls are generally for weddings, but yeah, and weddings in public parks generally not so. But you know what? Don't let me put you off from developing a public park. Maybe, just maybe, you can create a park that is attractive enough so that the young families in the area would use that park for their children's birthdays, to celebrate their children's birthdays. So instead of renting, instead of booking a restaurant or something, just we'll do the birthday in the park. It's something different. So lots of gazebos, playgrounds, and such. Yeah, I guess that's how sociocultural data, especially demographic data, could affect. Well, not affect, but could help you determine what to develop and what not to develop in your plot of land. Yeah, I guess that's how I would illustrate it.
All right, because I think in the last semester and the applied planning process, the social cultural data mostly involved data like how many people from this specific cultural race, like suku maybe, or maybe religion, the data of religion. I think I kind of get it mixed up with that data because I don't necessarily see how that will help in the development of a green space. So I think I was just kind of confused, but that really helped a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, you mentioned religion. You did. I saw religious affiliation in that table of demographics that you guys showed me. Different, but then again, this is really this is really different from one place to another. Most of the time here, if say, for example, for big religious religious celebrations such as Eid, then people would just go to people would gather in mosques, bearing in mind if this were a normal situation, not under COVID restrictions, people would gather in mosques in their and they would pray in mosque parking lots usually, and in the lawns. But wouldn't it be nice if you could celebrate Eid in the park? Because 7 hectares, that's a lot of people. That's for one. It can hold a lot of people. That's for one. So yeah, religious ceremonies can also come into consideration. Can also be one of the things that you can consider. But yeah, I'm. But the way I think the way we use public parks in the way we use public parks here is vastly different to I think any other to any other people from other parts of the world. So, but it would be nice to if you could break the mold with this public park of yours. Yeah, that's just an additional footnote, I reckon.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
No worries. Anyone else?
Sir, I just want to make sure, and pardon me if this question is quite basic, but for this project, for the framework, it's not limited, right? I mean, can we like create for the project as creative as we can, but then again, adjust with the existing condition or like
Yeah. Okay. I get what you mean. Sure. You can explore your creativity to the maximum within within the constraints that you have. Say, for example, if after the site analysis you discovered that your area is prone to flooding, and or say maybe prone to landslides, and then you decide to create a big Ferris wheel like the London Eye right there in that site. No, don't do that. So yeah, be as creative. You can basically build whatever you want, but bear in mind that there are constraints. There are constraints, both physical and cultural constraints to developing your site. The contour maps, for example, if you have contour maps and soil type or soil category maps, if you overlay them, then you can already see by considering these two factors or these two components that there are some parts of our site that are not stable. There are some parts of our site that can't be built because it's too steep. There are other parts that maybe we can build, but that maybe we should avoid. Maybe we should avoid from building because it's a water catchment area, or it gets there's heavy puddles there. There are heavy concentrations of water in that area because it is a concave, or convex, because it forms a bowl basically. Due to the differences in elevation and so on. So yeah, get creative, but I would say that the parameters or the parameters or the barriers that you may come across should be able to tickle or challenge your creativity. So yeah. Oh God, the words are there. It's in the tip of my tongue, but I just couldn't. I couldn't see. I can't get it out at the moment. But yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Right. Anything else? Well, if there are no more questions or comments, then I look forward to seeing your I look forward to seeing your site analysis. Hopefully soon. Hopefully more sooner than later. And I think we can conclude this session because it is almost. I can almost give it. It is almost time for the call for prayers. And yeah, thank you guys very much for sharing with me your location and your findings. I hope everything goes well in this task. No glitches, no glitches or hitches whatsoever. Thanks again, and good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.